Another day, another flood warning. Remember when California was a desert?
I don't recall. I'm proud to report that my current Instagram feed consists of almost exclusively architecture and cats.
At least it isn't people wishing each other happy Valentine's Day because boy, do I hate Instagram in February.
Thank God it's March. That feeling when you receive an award with 3 different typos engraved in it.
Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
Sarah Lane, what is up? Are you staying dry
Heather
down there?
Frank, what isn't up?
And what's up with y'all out there? Are you guys faring okay in this? There's some wild weather happening around the globe right now, not just here on the old West Coast.
We're both on the West Coast, so everything is. Sorry, Heather. I was tip tapping on your toes just there.
Tip tapping. I know how much you like to tip and tap.
I like a tippy tap.
You're a tippy tapper.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of tipping and tapping, Have Such a Good Day is on the air right now, and we're so happy to have you. It is the show that likes to unpack absurdities of everyday life for your entertainment and ours. It kind of perks us up throughout the week. Sarah and I, we try to record at the top of the week just to kind of like set the tone and have a little fun, have a little laugh, a little hoot. And usually it works. I would say by the time we're finished recording and chatting to an invisible audience, that is you, we feel pretty good. We feel like we could conquer the world. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, not to be like too dramatic, but there are times where I roll into the show just being like, I'm not having such a great week, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
Or a great day, or a great month, or a great year. And I walk out of here feeling a little bit better, feeling like, Heather and I just, we sort of pound out some of the stuff, we talk it through. We have some fun, and I leave with a smile on my face. So we can only hope the same goes for y'all. And we're happy to have you with us.
And exactly. And it's not like we're like getting super heavy on everything all the time. Sometimes we just like to talk about what we're eating. And, maybe that's the therapy that we need for that week. So excuse our yakking about cottage cheese, but you know what? It was therapy for us. So.
Well, I will say we did have, and Heather is referring to my cottage cheese adventure, and a couple people, not just one of you, but a couple people were like, really? Eggs and cottage cheese? How strange. I'm telling y'all, it's great. I'm also going to tell you about something that I made last night, and it was quite late. It was like way past dinner. I mean, by 10 p.m., I'm either, watching a show, or maybe even like trying to like go to bed early, or, 10 p.m. is, I'm getting comfy no matter, what's going on. But I had snacked throughout the day, had a late lunch kind of thing, to the point where you're sort of like, do I just skip dinner? Because at like 8 p.m. is usually the point where I'm like, if I'm not making dinner at this point, it's kind of over for me.
But then you might get hungry.
I don't like to eat too late and then go to
eat.
sleep. And exactly. But I I was tired, but I was also kind of hungry, and I was like, if I go to bed now without dinner, I'm gonna wake up famished and like possibly weird for this show, among other things. So I made myself, I had some pasta, like nothing crazy, just like regular, regular pasta. And I had some eggs and I had some kimchi. So I was like,
wait. So you had like some spaghetti or fusilli, or did you have the eggs
it was like
on
linguine.
The side?
What I did was, I didn't really scramble them.
That is an interesting meal.
This was Heather, it was late. I didn't really think
You got your
about
protein
this
though. You got your grains.
Too far
you got your dairy
in advance. But I as I was boiling my pasta, which is like linguine, but like spaghetti noodles, basically.
Yeah.
I fried a couple eggs, but then like I like killed the yolks. So they're kind of running all over each other. So they weren't really scrambled, but like they weren't really fried either.
Yeah,
And then
I
I
hear you.
threw a bunch of kimchi, like cabbage beet kimchi, into
Yum.
it right at the end and seasoned slightly. And boy, was that tasty. In fact, I had a few leftovers this morning because you always make more
That's a good
pasta than you
breakfast.
think. Yeah.
Look,
Well, it was a good dinner
Sarah.
and a good breakfast.
Look, I like your creations. I am not judging. I think that for me, it gets a little weird when there's too many cuisines mixed in. I knew someone at some point in my lifetime who would make, a dinner and have people come over, and it would be like, she would get all excited about the menu and she would make Italian food, but have sushi also on the side. And I
Oh,
just
yeah.
I don't really like, it's almost how I
You got to
feel
stay in
about
your
like
lane a little
weird
bit.
feng shui. It's like weird, like it just does not mesh
Yes.
to me.
It's like
It
you
makes me
walk into a nice
uncomfortable.
house and you're like, everything in here
is
is
just
great,
off.
but like the couch is in the wrong place.
The vibes are off,
Like
exactly.
the feng
Like you,
shui is not right here.
That's
Oh
the same how I
gosh.
feel when you mix too many. It's like mixing metaphors. It's like mixing too many cuisines. It's just
Mixing food metaphors that you're about to eat.
yes, I can't. It almost upsets my stomach. It's like I can't have sushi and pasta at the same sitting. Anyway, okay, we digress yet again. Sarah, how's your week been? I know it's been a muddy, rainy, not as cold as it was, not as snowy, but it's quite wet.
Yeah.
Where I am.
Quite wet. Oh my gosh, Head, you have nailed that one. So anybody who's living on the west coast, the wet coast,
The wet coast.
the wet
Little
coast.
slip there
That's what
for
we
ya.
call it now. You already know this, so bear with us. But for anybody who isn't, maybe you've seen things on the news, and maybe you're having crazy weather of your own. So I know that things are crazy all over the world.
Like back
But,
east is pretty bad right now too.
Indeed, indeed. And there are other places that are like super hot and droughty, and it just depends on where you are and what you're doing. But in our neck of the woods, it is very wet, and the winter is a wet season, and we've talked about this on the show many times. This is unprecedented wet weather. Even
Yeah.
for me, and I'm 46 years old, y'all. I've been through some winters
Yes, you
in
have.
various parts of the world. It is wet. So, and I've mentioned before that in my little tree house, I've got a skylight right above my bed, and it's sort of a low ceiling, so the skylight isn't very far above me. I love that skylight. I mean, besides the fact that I'm sometimes a little scared that a zombie will like try to attack me from atop the skylight, and I will open my eyes and I'll see the zombie, and we'll have to like look at each other and like
Is
decide
this like
what
a
happens
cordyceps
next.
zombie? What type of zombie are you talking
Kind
about
of,
specifically?
yeah, because Last of Us. Oh, by the way, I'm so sad it's over. I don't want to wait.
I haven't
But
finished
that
it yet.
we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
besides that, I love the skylight, and
Mm-hmm.
I love when it's rainy. It's like I don't know, like you hear the pitter patter, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see it, if you look up at the skylight. But once it's time for bed, it's like, oh, this is so nice. It's like ASMR, or
It's sort of
you know,
soothing. Yeah, it's ASMR.
white
totally.
noise, or
Yeah.
like whatever it is. I love it. But it was raining so hard last night. It kind of started to pick up after I had already gone to sleep. So, there I am, like earplugs in, because I was like, well, maybe it'll get loud, maybe not, whatever. Like, let's just do the earplugs. And it was so loud that like it woke me up. I got up, had some water, had to pee, et cetera, et cetera. I got back into bed, and then I was like, this rain is cramping
Like, actually keeping you awake.
my style. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with earplugs in, I even considered like, should I put on like actual noise canceling headphones and try to
I've done
sleep
that
in them?
before. they're kind of uncomfortable, but yeah, like the over the ear ones, I have those at the ready when I travel next to a bed, like if I'm in the city or something. And I do it sometimes, but yeah, it's not very comfortable. You kind of have to sleep on your back.
Yeah, which I'm getting better at these days. You know, I'm trying to. There, that is a conversation for another time. Like, how do you sleep and why? Because I used to sleep
Yeah.
squarely on my stomach, like hands above my head, on my stomach,
Like a baby.
Stab me in the back. Don't care. I am asleep. Even like
You're
sometimes,
very
like my face would
vulnerable.
be
I don't
in the
know.
pillow. I know.
Yeah, that feels
and
very vulnerable
now
to me.
I'm more of a sleeping on the back fan, but
I want to be ready to attack if I have to. So I'm like I'm on my right side or I'm on my left side. I can just like jump out the side of the covers at a moment's notice. But Sarah, I have to say just one quick thing about the weather, and we will not, I know we talk ad nauseum about the weather. We should just be a weather show. I mean, a weather food show.
yeah, I know. Hire us, meteorology people. We're really good at those.
We're really good. We're probably better than real meteorologists. But anyway, it's super rainforesty here. Like it went from snowy, like I felt like I lived in Lake Tahoe. Like it was just like weirdly, like you said, unprecedented cold, where it doesn't usually snow a lot up here, but it snowed a lot.
Yeah.
People were definitely buried, like their houses were buried in the snow not that far from here, a little further east. And it warmed up. So it's like, it's quite humid now. And it's very rainforesty. I walked out the other day and it's like that misty rain that's like just warm and it's like a lot of rain, but it's hard to explain. It's almost like a monsoon. And like all the frogs are croaking like crazy, which I think they were really cold before because you didn't hear them, or maybe they died because it was too cold. But it's kind of tropical, and I kind of like it because it is really technically a rainforest up here. But you don't always, there's these reminders at certain times of the year where you're like, oh yeah, it's really humid up here, generally. And then the fat quail are starting to emerge, which gives me hope because I think I don't know what their deal is, but like I think they kind of go away for the winter. They hibernate, whatever they do. Same with like the bunny rabbits and like the little ground squirrels. And then they start coming out when there's like a hint of spring. Anyway, I'm enjoying the current weather system, for the record.
Well, I wish I could say the same. I'm kind of over it. However, yesterday I had, I had to work, but I also had a really productive day. Like our gate was stuck open. It's like the main driveway gate where if it's stuck open, like nobody's life is ruined, but it just bothers me. It's like, it's like a thing that I need to fix. Like if the gate is open, I feel like, oh, I'm so vulnerable to the world, which is so silly because like I never had a driveway gate before this exact one.
The cordyceps can get in. I get it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They're not going to know how to climb over the gate. They actually would. But fixed the gate, did a lot of laundry and took the garbage out. Like I've got an ant problem. I've talked about this on the last few episodes. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So I've got like ant traps in my house.
I'm telling you, it's the rain.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it this bad. I mean, I've never actually I just sort of like sprayed them here and there and was just like, go somewhere else, please. There's a colony happening.
Wow.
And it was horrible. Oh God. Ugh. Sorry, ants. Just please.
You should
go
really
somewhere
watch
else.
the sci-fi movie Phase 4.
I don't
Phase
think
4.
so because it's going to be about ants, Heather.
It's about
and
ants
I'm already
taking over the
living
world.
It's already about ants. But just on the subject of rain before we move on. So Otis the dog, I have mentioned, I'm sure, that he is not crazy about the rain. In fact, he'll be like scratching at the door in the morning sometimes to be like, I have to pee, help. And I'll be like, okay, Oat, you're not going to like this. And I open the door and he looks at me and he's like, nope, I can hold it for like another 48 hours. I don't want to go out there. I hate it. And sometimes we just, we have to like walk or run around or, at the very least, like he has to like go pee on a tree. Like he's an animal like the rest of us, but he doesn't have a toilet that he can use indoors. So I have this. It's actually really cute. It's this rain poncho, a camo rain poncho that, I mean, it helps kind of, but like it doesn't really help his face or his tail or his feet,
Yeah.
but it does help, most of his body. And he's
You
a
should
big
get little
dog.
doggy galoshes.
Well, we tried that. They lasted about 30 minutes. We won't be doing that again. But the poncho, he's used to. Like when I put it on him, he kind of looks at me and he's like, "Oh God, all right, this is what's happening." And it does help, but like he'll shake when he comes back inside, no matter what. And like he's not really dry. It's just that a lot of his body is dry. But the worst parts, like feet and head and tail, are still, out to the elements. Anyway, because we've had so much rain recently, I just stopped even trying with the poncho. I was just like, you know what? We're gonna go. We're gonna go. I won't even wear my, windbreaker / raincoat either. Like, let's just get wet. I am wearing galoshes because I can't handle wet feet on myself. But poor Otis is like, he looks at me and he's like, "All right, let's do it." And we went to the park yesterday because he hadn't been out in a couple days because just the rain has been, torrential. And I mean, it was, I'm not even kidding, like half a foot of water in the whole place. Like it was just, it wasn't even mud. It was just straight up swamp.
Yeah.
And
That's what it's like up here.
Yeah. And, he kind of was like, "I don't want to play." And I'm like, "Well, you have to play," throwing the ball. And eventually he was like, you could see him just being like, "I'm going to give up. I'm going to
Yeah.
be really dirty and really wet and I don't care anymore." And I was like, "You
And he
and
had
me
fun.
both, brother man." And we did have fun. I mean, we
Good.
were disgusting. We were covered in mud when we came home.
That's
but
so fun, though.
yeah, kind of. Like
If you
once
get
you're
into it, you
just
gotta
sort
get
of
into
like,
it.
I'll take a shower later. Like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
As long as like my iPhone isn't like dropping in a puddle, what do I really care if I'm
Yeah.
wet? So
Yeah, it's like
anyway,
I actually
it
remember.
worked out okay.
I remember in high school, like playing like mud football, like powder puff or whatever, and it was fun. And playing like muddy soccer was so fun. But I mean, I was a kid. I think that if I were to, I'd have to be out there for a little while to get used to it, and then I could get into it. But yeah, I don't normally just want to jump out there because right now I'm watching my whole property turn into a mud pit because we did that huge water project that they just wrapped up yesterday, and they had to trench. So they had to create all of these trenches. So if you did an aerial view, like some kind of drone view of my property, you would see these lines that are no longer grass, but they're like mud because they had to dig into the ground. And so it's kind of hard to explain, but it's a total eyesore right now. And because they did that, and in the middle of winter, we have I'm watching these huge, like these puddles get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, wow, we're gonna have a lot of work to do when the season changes. But yeah, so switching gears a little bit, I went to this regional event for the Oscars this past weekend, and we just had the Oscars, the big Oscars celebration, which I watched bits and pieces of. I went out to a theater that was a kind of a local Art Deco movie theater, a really cool place. I had never been there, didn't even know it existed. Really like, that kind of old, cool carpet with like a horse print. And it's just really unique colors and neat lighting and, definitely from a different era. And it was an event that was put on by the local film commission, and they live broadcasted, the Oscars on the movie screen, so you could sit in the theater and watch it, and it was pretty cool. That was quite a big turnout. People were all gussied up, drinking like champagne and wearing their gowns. It was kind of funny. And I ended up I dressed up, but I wore jeans, but I had like sparkly shoes and a blazer. I mean, I was like sharp cash, I guess.
Heather, that's so you.
I know. I know.
I was still in jeans, but like sparkly shoes and also a blazer.
And like a feathery sweater. I dressed up, but I like dressed down at the same time. It was funny
A
too
feathery
because
sweater and a blazer? You're a wild woman.
I am a wild woman. I had some crazy earrings on too, by the way. But it was funny because it was dressed up for us for up here. I think up here is pretty cash. And, if I were to have gone to the Oscars, the real Oscars, I would have taken it up a notch. But it was funny because you enter and it's like full on like, red carpet, step and repeat, where they take your picture against a backdrop and they have like someone with a microphone. It was very cute. It was a very cute, kind of a cutesy regional party. And I actually liked it more than I thought. And the guy who had the mic, when you walk up and he's like, "Who are you wearing?" And he's like a funny guy. He's kind of thinks he's a comedian, and we're like, Levi's, and because we're like kind of casual. And it was just it was
North
just a quirky
Face,
night.
it's kind of old.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things. But and it was also pouring rain. And so I received this silly award that I mentioned last week, and it was just like a recognition for doing a film up here. And they like took my picture and like put it up on the screen and did a little like it was like a little interstitial commercial thing.
Yeah,
and it was like neat to like watch it play out, whatever. And but I was like, I thought of you, Sarah, because I know like the first person I think of when I come across like when I feel like a real grammar Nazi is you. Because you and I learned like the foundation of our television experience, other than like college, was tech TV, the early broadcast television and G4.
It was.
And we learned.
But we also, I mean, I feel like we came into it as like, we do crossword puzzles.
Yeah, we were in it to win it.
Had corrected our grammar for some time. Like
we wanted to be right.
Yeah, I mean,
and
at
smart.
20 years old, I was real dumb, but I was a pretty good grammar Nazi.
Yeah, exactly.
I am to this day.
I know you are. You're definitely. I really wish I could have like I would have had a guffaw with you because I noticed, and a lot of people don't notice these things. They're like, "You're crazy." I didn't even see that. What do you like where it's like, oh man, that's like totally
it is blinking
glaring
red
for me.
To me.
Blinking
it's
red.
It's like basically
exactly.
like it's like blood is coming out of a typo where I'm like, how do you not see that?
Yes,
oh my
like,
gosh.
It's so glaring. And it's funny because the invitation had all these typos on it. And it was like, because it was like it was almost like a press release kind of invitation. And it went out on Facebook and it went out on, other social platforms. And, not calling anyone out here because look, I don't even know, these could have been interns writing this thing up. Who knows how, I don't think these are fancy jobs or anything. So they probably just like scrambled to put this together. But yeah, it was just like funny things that I'm like, oh God, you're a contraction, like, stuff like that where it just was. So I went into it kind of maybe looking for errors. So, and I don't want to sound judgmental. Okay. But I think I do blame the early days of just, trying to just do a good job and never making a mistake, because being in I think live television is a huge part of it too, because you cannot get, if you wrote something wrong on a chyron on a lower third, I mean, you would never hear the end of it. You may get fired. I mean, it's like,
and for anybody who's like, what's that mean? It's like, the
text
if you're
on the
watching cable news, CNN, and Joe Biden is on the screen, you might see the lower third, which is what we're talking about, is on the bottom of the screen saying like, the president speaks to the U.S.
Like the title,
like
the
that,
name.
like somebody's
like
job is like typing all that stuff in.
Yeah.
And usually they have a producer telling them what to do, kind of depends on the production.
And you have a chyron operator correcting things too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
goes many layers.
It's big.
But so I don't know how many layers it went for this, but there was actually quite a few mistakes that I caught, even on like the little interstitial with my info. And then I got like a statuette, like it was just like it was like the size of an Oscar, but it was obviously not like made of gold or
It wasn't actually an Oscar,
gold-plated
Heather.
no, I actually
Get
did
out
not
of
receive
town.
an Oscar, but it was cute. It was very cute, and it had some, my name etched in it, which was spelled correctly, but there were some other things that were a little bit, incorrect. But it was the thought that counts, and we had a good time. It was fun and sweet. We did an Oscar pool. Me and my dude, we did a really fun little Oscar pool, and we just kind of wrote out all the, in fact, I thought for a second to do it with our Discorders, but I think I got like really busy and I got
I
and I
wish we
spaced
had
out.
done that too.
I know we should have done
Discorders,
that.
Sorry
It
for
was a
failing
missed
you,
opportunity,
because
Sarah.
on so this was Sunday, Oscar Sunday, as we know it in the US, and Heather mentioned something about a pool, and I was like, oh, I didn't do that this year, because I actually have a group of friends who I usually do that with it, but like I'm never really the one who organizes, and so I hadn't thought about it until you said that, and I was like, whatever. But
Well, it was funny because it wasn't even that much variety. I mean, it was a lot of like everything everywhere. It was a lot of kind of the same movies. I mean, obviously
everything
there was
everywhere all the time. Yeah,
everything
I always
everywhere
have to think of that.
all at once.
All at once.
EEAAO. That's what I call
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, speaking of the Oscars, so any of you didn't watch it, so I don't want to like go on and on about something that you either just didn't see or
Don't
yet
care about.
or don't care about. But it was fun. I was watching with a friend, and we were watching live, but we were also like kind of like some of the musical numbers, like we don't really care about this,
I
like,
usually
maybe we
step
just,
away and
like,
get a snack at that point.
yeah, step away, get a snack, do a pee break. Somebody hungry wants some more Triscuits type thing.
Yeah.
Or you kind of like, pause and then say like, well, later we can, go through the commercials, right? Because we were watching on YouTube TV, which you can do things like that. I mean, I guess you can do pretty much with any cable network at this point. But we were having fun, but there were so many like strange moments in the show, and I'm not saying like strange in a bad way, because like I'm an award show person. I will watch any award show you give me. I don't even care if I've seen a movie or a TV show or some sort of theater production or I don't know, Directors Guild, Screen Actors. I watch all of them because I love the pre-show. I like the show itself, but I love the red carpet special. And I mean, if you like the Oscars, you throw on E at noon, and you've got 5 hours of commentary on
God.
various things that people are wearing or might wear or might do or might not do. It's all just a bunch of filler, and
It's cheesy
great.
but entertaining.
Horrible. Yeah, I mean, it's horrible, but it's entertaining. And at one point, the person who had the charge of the remote was like, "Well, we can like come like the show doesn't start for like an hour," and I was like, "No, you give
Do not
this to
touch
me
the remote.
once a year.
Step off."
I will comment on Kate Blanchett's choice of dress. We are not. You keep it here, please. And
Did he back off, or
which was
he or
fine.
she?
He or she, yeah, right. They did. They were like, all right. They, this is important to you. It's fine. And I know it's silly. It's like somebody like giving you like a big bowl of candy, and you're like, I don't usually do this, but once a year, I'm gonna eat this entire bowl of candy. Everybody ready? Because it's gonna get weird. And that's what I love about the Oscars. That said, Heather, I had not seen really any of the movies that were nominated. I mean, I tried to watch a couple of them, fell asleep. Tar, for example. Oh my God, that movie's like 10 hours long. Like, who can stay awake? I tried to watch
saw
it
it in
like
the
3
theater.
different
It was
times,
challenging.
and I could not stay awake. Not saying it wasn't a good movie. And if you want to come fight
feel
me,
you.
please do. But there was that. Everything, Everywhere. I haven't even seen that movie.
Oh, it's great. You got to watch
I
that.
know, and everybody, I have no excuse. I was just busy
Just
watching
I
Married
would
at
watch
First
it
Sight or
just for
something.
Jamie Lee Curtis if you're a fan of hers, because she
Very much
plays this
so.
like frumpy, like she's so good in this role that you've like probably never seen her in, because she's never really been like, she's been like a sexy tomboy kind of role, and she's been in a lot of horror movies. She's done a lot of these sort of
I mean, she was the
niche.
original Halloween lady.
Yeah, totally,
Well,
and she's
not even
super
lady.
cute.
She was, a teenager.
Yeah, she's in a great. I actually hadn't seen it. I watched it last night. I loved it. I mean, it had its flaws, but the Catherine Bigelow, Blue Steel, 1990. She plays a New York cop, and she's so cute. She has like short, shaggy hair. She's very boyish, but like still feminine and very Jamie Lee Curtis. Super, super cute, and it's a great movie. It's kind of a thriller, and I highly recommend it. I kind of went deep, listened to some commentary after, because it's really good film theory on it. But Jamie Lee Curtis is a great, just even that, just to watch her, because the other actors, I mean, they won too, and like Key and Michelle Yeoh. I mean, they're all just wonderful to watch. It's so entertaining. And the filmmakers are so young. It's kind of amazing. I would love to interview them, because God, it's just, they're so creative. I mean, this original script, and I'm kind of blown away.
I love like where you go with this. You're
I
like,
know.
I would love to interview them, and I'm like, are you gonna pay me to interview them? Otherwise, no, thank
No,
you.
I
would
want
like
to get
just
into their
sit back and
brains.
watch
I
your
think
movie.
for me, I just want to get into their brains. I'm like, they made this movie. How did they do
Sure.
this? I mean, when you watch the movie, we'll talk, because there is so much incredible action and creativity in this movie. You're like, being a producer, I always try to step back and go, how did they make this? Even though I am a producer and I could figure it out, like, how do you actually piece this together? What was the stage like? What were the special
Yeah.
effects? When did you insert special effects? Blah, blah, blah. And it's fascinating to just watch such young filmmakers, create such a feat of filmmaking. I don't know. I just think it's it's not always a year that I'm excited about in terms of Oscars. Like, sometimes it just kind of comes and goes, and I might be really interested in a couple categories, but I really did think that this movie really deserved the awards it got. So
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I feel a little bit silly that we're talking about the Oscars without me seeing what won Best Picture, but I know I will like it.
yeah,
I also I love a good spectacle. And,
Yeah.
It is not lost on me that a bunch of people working in an industry, who are overpaid, sometimes overworked, but certainly overpaid, not unlike sporting industries, sort of patting each other on the back can be pretty off-putting to
It
a
can
lot
be.
of people. I get that. It doesn't have to be for you. It is for me. Like, you tell me what dress you're wearing, and I cannot wait for the person who is interviewing you to be like, so who are you wearing? And like, who are you so excited to see tonight? You're nominated for XXX
yeah.
award. What do you think about your fellow nominees?
Well, maybe not
It's like
XXX,
this
but-
is this. Well, XXX meaning
Rated
I'm not
triple
gonna like.
X.
Well,
I know what you mean.
Just dot dot dot.
Yeah.
But like it's just like it's so syrupy and
It is
so
syrupy.
dumb.
It is.
But like I don't know.
But I
love
also
it.
I get like a little, like, not jelly, but like when I see the after, like the parties, and you see photographs, like professional photographs taken at these after parties, like the Vanity Fair party, and it's like, it looks so fun. They have some great DJ or some great band, and they're dancing, and they're all like wearing sparkly fun
I don't
things.
know,
it
Heather. I
looks
mean,
fun.
I agree that it's a little bit more of like, okay, we're done with the show. The person who won, and everybody else is, hanging out and seen and being seen, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like if I were, who am I going to throw out right now? Jessica Chastain,
Okay.
who I have no problem with. like if she's at the after party, like she's probably not like blowing lines in the bathroom kind of thing.
I wouldn't sell her
Because
short.
it's like you're still sort of on, right?
Yeah.
Like you still have to like, be photographed and maybe be
Yeah.
interviewed and
Be professional.
that sort of thing. But you're like still trying to be like, I'm cool, I'm hanging.
You do
I'm
have to
hanging
watch
late
yourself, I'm
night.
sure, because there's cameras everywhere, and like you get one bad photo of you doing the wrong thing or doing the wrong dance move. You're right; they're probably really on their toes.
Yeah, I don't know. Being a celeb at that scale. I mean, not that we aren't celebs, Heather, because we clearly are. But on that
Who
scale,
doesn't know about Have
seems
Such a Good Day?
right. I mean, listen, we're the original celebs, but us aside,
The
to be
OG.
sort of like on that like Tom Cruise level, like it gives me anxiety.
Me too.
And
I
sometimes
wouldn't want that.
You can kind of see that in the people too,
Yeah.
where they're like, "What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be funny? I don't know."
Like where there's
I'm
a New
wearing
York
this
Times
dress.
article like deconstructing, like there was a New York Times article the other day about Tom Cruise and how like the journalist was like writing about how he spent all of his life like watching Tom Cruise movies and like he never ages, and just kind of deconstructing. What if like somebody did that to you, like totally deconstructing Sarah Lane, like in a big
I mean,
publication.
it's happened.
Yeah.
Hey, you get a kind of a strange fan at all levels of life.
That's true.
And yeah, it's not really fun because
Your
you're sort of like,
anonymity is very precious. I think I wouldn't want to walk down the street and just go do my regular errands and have somebody recognize me and kind of bug me. Like I want to kind of be incog. I want to go in and out. I want to do my thing without feeling like I'm being ogled or gawked at, or I don't know. Like you want your privacy.
And isn't it funny where, I mean, this has been everything that most people who have achieved a certain amount of fame have all complained about is like,
Yeah.
please respect the privacy of me and my family. You know,
Yep.
like maybe something happens, in personal life, or there's a divorce or a baby or, whatever.
Yep.
Or an accident or, I mean, the list goes on. And you kind of go like, well, I mean, you spent your whole life trying to be a celebrity. And it's like, that is, neither of those is not true.
Yeah.
Somebody who's kind of trying to be, at the height of fame, I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
And if you get there, then kudos. At the same time, I think there are very few of those people who don't regret what they have to now deal with.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to leave the house, gonna be a problem. You want to like have like a quiet wedding, helicopters. It sounds like
you choose
hell
this
to
lifestyle.
me.
Yeah.
Right. You choose the lifestyle, but at the same time, your intentions aren't necessarily to be in hell.
No, of course not.
It just
happens.
is something that, and again, everybody's different, right? There's
Some
a lot of
people
people
like
who
it,
are
I'm
like
sure.
pretty famous who live pretty quiet lifestyles. And,
Yeah.
to that I say, I applaud you. Like, I don't know where Kate Blanchett lives. I don't
think
see
Australia.
her on TMZ.
I think Sydney.
Something like
Sydney,
that. But, and Kate, not trying to, blow you
Blow up
up,
your
but
spot.
like, I just love her so much.
Can you imagine us
Even
blowing
though I
up Kate
hated her.
Blanchett's spot,
Horrible movie.
like in another country across the world? Have Such a Good Day releases Kate Blanchett, blows up her spot.
Yes.
Like we're responsible
Sorry, y'all.
for it.
We just felt like we needed to tell you where Kate Blanchett lives in a suburb of Sydney. Okay, that's what we're doing. But no, I enjoyed the Oscars, Heather. It was a lot of fun, and that's all I have to say about that.
And I have some photos of like you and me having some great times at some great parties with some glittery clothing, and we've had our good times.
Some glittery clothing. It had a strange clothing era. I mean, I
Which
think
era was
anybody
that?
could say that about the first 5 years of their 20s, but
Yeah.
like there's certain photos where I'm like, what in the, and everyone just sort of went like, oh, that's what she's wearing.
It's really
Okay.
funny because I still get like sort of flack for when I lived in France. I mean, I was somewhat gothic, but I wasn't like Wednesday Addams or anything, you know? I wouldn't like paint my fingernails black, but I would wear like some velvet and like a blazer. I was kind of
That's
artsy.
not gothic.
Well,
That's just a
so
style.
my little French like student, my little French friend who's now an adult, still kind of like elbows me and goes, "You were so goth." You know, when you lived in Paris, and it's like, okay, fine, but she's a
Yeah.
very bougie Parisian girl who's super classic and maybe sort of described me as a little more over the top than I really was, which is fine.
Sure.
That's her memory. She was a kid. But yes, the awkward 20s. Now we're in the awkward 40s. So yeah, welcome us and welcome all y'all who are experiencing what we call the midlife, which we tend to talk about ad nauseum on this show. But Sarah,
We can't
I
help
am
it, y'all. We can't help it. Heather and I are like, are we really halfway there?
no, we're not.
Dang.
We gotta start
Well, I
lying about
mean,
our age.
we very much are, but who knows? By the time we get
Speak
to
for
90,
yourself.
by the time we get to 90, maybe we'll get to 120. I don't know.
Can you imagine if we're still doing the show? We're like, oh, Sarah, my back hurts today, and we're on episode 555.
Yeah.
Palindrome.
Yeah. Well, your osteoporosis medication, how's that going? Because I cracked a rib.
More like a
Walking.
hip. Actually, so Sarah, I want to hold you to what you said last week, because I think we both often forget what we promised to talk about and unpack the next week.
Okay.
We don't have
All
a
right.
ton of time to unpack, but I do want to bring back, I want to circle back, if you will.
I will.
We were talking about alt milk, alternative milk, oat milk,
Oh, yeah.
almond milk, and your dislike of s'mores. So I never really
Hmm.
had the chance to ask you, what is it about s'mores? Is it too sticky and melty? Is it the texture? Is it is it the taste? What is it exactly that you don't like about s'mores?
Okay, so thank
Break
you
it
for
down.
asking, Heather. Let's unpack this. Let's unpack the s'mores issue, because I don't hate s'mores, but like there is no
They rub
part
you
of
wrong.
me at any point of the year, around any campfire where I'm like, let's do s'mores, but other people do. And especially where I live now, there's a fire pit on the property. And I mean, I wouldn't like, if there was an Airbnb guest and, you know, they're like family, like they're not going to like invite me down for s'mores. But like if the owners, who are my friends, would, you know, they have done that. And I've been like, no, thank you. I mean, like, I'll like come like sit there for a minute, but like, I don't want s'mores.
Yeah. Is it the ritual? Like just like putting
No,
the
the
marshmallow on
ritual
the
is
stick?
actually like
Okay.
that's I love a good ritual.
Okay.
But I think when I was a kid, my dad and I, my mom sometimes, but mostly my dad and I would camp a lot. You know, like we go fishing and
Cute.
like go to like, I don't know, various lakes and just like weird places and like my dad loved a good road trip.
He loved
you
a
know?
good weird place.
He did. He really did. And, we'd always, make a fire, pitch a tent and
Yeah.
do some s'mores, and he'd always be like super excited about it. And I was always like, I like eat the marshmallow, but like, I don't, graham crackers.
Yeah,
I'm not that into
it's a
graham
weird
crackers.
combo when you think about it. When you deconstruct it, it's like, why graham cracker? Why not like a chocolate chip cookie? Or like, why not
Yeah.
like another cracker? I don't.
Well, and I mean,
what's
I
the
love
origin
chocolate,
of the s'more?
so like that's not a problem.
And then it's
And
also
even
Hershey's chocolate, which usually it's like a Hershey's bar, which isn't very good chocolate.
well, but you could make a s'more with any chocolate.
Yeah.
But yes. If you're thinking like bare bones, it's like whatever marshmallows are at Safeway, some Hershey's chocolate,
Kinda nasty.
and some graham
Yeah.
Nabisco kind of thing. And it's, I mean, I don't know. It's fine. I just feel like it's like, I don't know why we decided this is like a fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it, but I don't want it
Yeah.
either. So anyway, I don't know if that's like a good enough answer for you.
It
but
is. It's good enough. I'm satisfied, Sarah. But are you all satisfied out there? Do you have further questions for Sarah? Please email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com. And I will say, s'more, like, you know, when there's like a s'more flavored dessert, like at a restaurant, they often have like a deconstructed s'more. It's not my first choice. It's not something that I'm like, ooh, yum. Like I love the taste of s'more. And, you know, they have like those Cool House ice cream sandwiches. I think they have a s'more one. I don't pick that one. But I think for me, I do enjoy the ritual and I don't mind the taste and I don't mind putting them together. And I'll enjoy a s'more like, you know, the rest of you out there. But not something that I would go way out of my way for. I'd rather have a Rice Krispie treat. If we're talking marshmallows, give me a Rice Krispie treat. Give me a whole plate of Rice Krispie treats. I will eat the whole
Rice
thing in one
Krispie
sitting.
treats with chocolate and marshmallow in them. Let's go. Like I will run a marathon on that shit. But the
Sarah,
s'mores,
you and
I'm
I,
like,
one of these days, I'm going to make us some Rice Krispie treats and we're going to curl up on the couch and watch some trashy TV and we're going to share an entire dish, half and half. I'll
like
eat
the
half or I'll eat 2/3. You can eat a third. And it'll be a grand old time. But I do want to mention really quick before we wrap up here. So this isn't much of I don't know how much there is here to talk about, and I'm sure y'all out there can relate. And
That's
Sarah,
a great lead.
I'm sure that you can relate too. But you know how, you know, we live in a world of technology. There's all kinds of apps that I'm sure we all use every day. Yep. And, you know, a lot of them have reminders. They have they kind of friendly nudges like, hey, you haven't been here for a few days. Don't lose your spot on this. You're in a winning streak. Don't lose your winning streak kind of thing. And a couple off the top of my head are like the Duolingo language app. There's, you know, the Apple Watch activity stuff where you have to close your ring, close the rings and
Sure.
I still can't figure that out, by the way. And
Well,
I need a tutorial.
Heather. Just close them.
I can't even open them. I don't know how
Just
to
keep
open
walking.
them.
You just keep walking.
I'm actually stuck on the screen where you have to pick the shape of your rings, and I'm a little lost.
Well,
but
in all fairness, for anyone who's like, "What is wrong with Heather?" She just got an Apple Watch.
I did.
So
and I'm
this is,
really good at
you're gonna figure it
changing
out.
my faces. I'm really good at changing the faces of my watch. Currently, I'm using Metropolitan. I'm really into. But long story short, how do you? I guess you just turn off your notifications. But where do you draw the line? Like you set up these notifications for you set these goals. It reminds you of said goals. You are the one at fault because you're the one that sets them up in the first place. But then they start nagging you, and they're somewhat passive aggressive. And they're trying to egg you on to get you interested. It's very counterproductive for me. Doesn't really work. So I'm going to turn all those off because for me, when I get nagged like that, I want to rebel.
I get you. Yeah.
I'm like,
no,
I'm not going to come on just because you're asking me.
This is Apple Watch specific, but I know what you're talking about. Where sometimes I'll get a notification where it's like, well, you didn't close any of your rings yesterday, but today's a new day.
Yes.
So let's crush it. Where I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, you're like, don't talk to me like that. And then
Do not
stand up right now.
You don't know what I dealt with yesterday?
Then you're like, yes, and then they're like, it's time for you to stand up. And it's like, no, and then you feel guilty that you've been laying down for too long. And then I start going on a guilt spiral. And I'm not sure that these are.
It's time to stand up.
Very productive.
You don't know what I'm doing with my life.
You don't know me. Don't think you know me.
I have to do Wordle.
Get off my lawn.
Quirtle.
And then
And
Quirtle.
then I'll stand
and then
up.
crosswordle.
So shut
and
up,
then
Apple
all
Watch.
the wordles.
Yeah. Glad I spent all this money on you. Meh.
Well, Sarah, gosh, that was a fast 55 minutes.
It was. It was a fun one. We hope you all had fun too. Just a reminder, we always do this at the end of the show. If you happen to have stumbled upon our show for the first time, or you happen to not be a patron, we always encourage everybody to think about becoming patrons. We're a small, proud village of a show. That is Heather and me.
A village
just the two
of
of
two.
us.
Is that a village?
Takes a village.
Yeah, it
in this
does.
case, of two. But we plod along because we love the show. We love having the community, and we have a great one. And if you'd like to join the community, please do go to patreon.com/have such a good day, where you can find out more about your options there. We always plug our Discord because we love our Discorders, and we have a few new ones over the last few weeks. So hello, new folks. And yeah, it's a great time. So no pressure. You can always have the show free. We will not change that. But if you'd like to directly support us, then you get an ad-free version of the show, and you get to talk about Heather's lentil recipe because
and
other
it
people
helps a couple
have been
sisters
trying it
out
in Discord. Yeah.
I actually triggered a whole barrage of recipes sharing, which is really cute.
Who knew? See,
I know.
This is where
I don't think we've talked about food like this
fun.
to this extent. I know. It's like a little burgeoning family.
Indeed. And thanks to everybody who emails us throughout the week. Sometimes it's just sort of kind of just stuff that I think you just want us to hear, and so we don't add it onto a subsequent show. Other times it sort of does lend itself to that. So just know that we read everything. We love everything. And all feedback that we get, good, bad, and ugly, is really appreciated because it reminds us that we're not
We don't
alone.
get a lot of ugly feedback, by the way.
We really don't. No, but, I was trying to be, I don't know, like a Western.
We did recently get a wonderful email from a Steven. I'm not going to blow up your spot. He had a really fun couching idea, and maybe I'll save it for the next episode because he got really creative. I really enjoyed his sort of stream of consciousness on helping me come up with more ideas of how to maximize my awesome new couch.
I have to laugh, Heather, because you're like, what should I do with my new couch? And I'm like,
is it really that hard to figure out?
I have one idea. I mean, it doesn't involve me, but have some fun on that couch.
Oh yeah,
break it in.
The problem is
All
these
right.
animals are all up in our shit all the time. It's just we're on the couch, three animals are on the couch. So it just becomes this, I feel like we're on a little ship, out.
Heather, sexy time can be a zoo. Okay,
This is
you
true.
just have
This
to,
is true.
just think outside the cage.
See, there you go. All right, Sarah, on that note.
All right. We are wrapping up episode 182. Thanks to everybody who listened and supports us. And we will be back next week with episode 183. Until then, I will stay Sarah.
I'll stay Heather. Have such a good day.
Have such a good day.